would not be standing here were it not for the education I received. And I know many of us will say the same thing. And I believe a child going without an education is tantamount to a crime. So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy. Well, this was a little controversial in San Francisco. And frankly, my staff went bananas. They were very concerned because we didn't know at the time whether I was going to have an opponent in my re-election race. But I said, look, I'm done. This is a serious issue, and I've got a little political capital, and I'm going to spend some of it.
So that's her taking credit for it. This young lady is a woman who was actually arrested under that policy that she was just taking credit for. So anyone who says, it has nothing to do with Kamala, you can't hold her responsible, because I've seen this. You absolutely can, and I'm going to prove why you can and how you can.
To go to trial for truancy because my daughter has sickle cell and she missed a lot of school.
Her daughter had sickle cell, and they're holding her attendance against her. This is a perfect example of when a policy is put out and they did not think of the unintended consequences of it.
Heard me trial. I got arrested for truancy April 18th of 2013. My my newborn son at the time, father woke me up after a long night of sleep, of non-sleep, being up with my colicky son. Cheree, somebody at the door for you. And I thought he said the police. When you half sleep, half up, you're really not paying attention. And I go down the stairs, and to my belief, it was 2 police officers in front of my door. So they said, "Are you Cheree Peoples?" I said, "Yes." And they told me I was under arrest for truancy for Shayla Rucker. I'm like, truancy for Shayla Rucker? Huh? My face just, it didn't make sense to me. I couldn't put it together in my mind because I know I just had meetings with this school. I know I did. I'm like, I just had a 504 plan. We just had an IEP meeting because they just denied her IEP.
You know what an IEP is? Mel probably knows what an IEP is, but for those who don't know what an IEP is an IEP. IEP individualized education program, which would be perfect for the young lady who has sickle cell. Right? She's not gonna. There's gonna be flare-ups, and she's not gonna be able to make it to school. It says personalized plan designed to meet specific educational needs. Why is that up there? Of students with disabilities defined by 13 official categories of IEP disabilities and are identified as being in need of special education for the purpose of an IEP is to ensure that these students receive appropriate support, services, and accommodation in order to access and participate in their education. It was denied. That's your first problem. Well, why was it denied? That's a weird thing to deny, especially if she can prove her daughter had sickle cell. Why would they deny it? Seems weird to me. But when they denied it, they then sent the police to her home to arrest her. Now, who has this power? Why wouldn't the school step in and say, you know what, we've been talking about her. This is not one of those instances where there's a kid who's just being bad out. What's going on, T-Hep? What's going on, Taryn? Where there's just a kid going out, messing around, skipping school. We are talking to this woman, and she's trying to figure out ways to get her daughter caught up and get educated. Why couldn't the school step in? They called the police. They had to have called the police. This girl's missing too much school. She's got sickle cell. So they send the police to her home to arrest her.
And I'm like, I just talked to y'all, and I'm thinking, they were there to help me. And he said, "No, Miss Peoples, have a warrant for your arrest."
They had to get a warrant. Now listen, somebody had to go make a case to a judge, and a judge signed off on this based on the policy and law that Kamala got passed, that she advocated for. You want to know how I know she advocated for it? Let me show you. Again, I have my opinions, but they're based on facts. I don't just make stuff up. Let's do this. The human costs of Kamala Harris's war on truancy. The progressive prosecutor wanted to transform how California responded to students missing school. Parents like Cheree, she said her name properly, I'll say it right going forward. Cheree Peoples wound up paying the price. This is her being arrested. So all the people online, I'm going to share this on my social media, who are saying, no, this has nothing to do with Kamala Harris. This absolutely does. You want to know how I know? Right here, it says the law was the capstone of Harris's years-long campaign to get tough on truancy, the term for when a child consistently misses school without a valid excuse. Now, this young lady had a valid excuse, but apparently that doesn't matter. It matters not. Harris's involvement began in the mid-2000s when the future senator and 2020 presidential candidate was in the San Francisco district attorney. Let's go down here. A few years later, she persuaded the state legislature to adopt harsher penalties for truancy. Under the new law, the parent or guardian of a young truant child could face a fine of $2,500 or more, or 1 year in jail. Harris pushed hard for this law as she was running for attorney general, and it passed, just as she won the election. There's a whole story on it. There's a whole story on it. We are putting parents on notice, especially you, Cheree Peoples. She said in her 2011 inauguration, if you fail in your responsibility to your kids, we're going to work to make sure you face the full force and consequences of the law. This is the mindset of a prosecutor. And that's good when you're dealing with criminals. That's really scary when you're dealing with everyday, normal citizens who aren't doing anything wrong. This is also the problem. Yeah, Baker man, it's crazy, huh? Crazy. This is also the problem when you're dealing with stuff like freedom of speech, when you're dealing with Second Amendment. They just want to take. They push it as far as they can go, just on the brink of civil war, and then they back off. Just a little. But then they'll try again later, don't worry. That's what progressivism is. They want to progress. They want to take it further. It's what they do. It really is. So it's about the money for these school districts, teachers, unions, and elected officials, straight up. This woman was...
I said, so you telling me you going to put handcuffs on me? He was like, yeah, it's the law. I'm like, okay. So I said, can I use the bathroom then? He was like, yeah, you can use the bathroom. Go upstairs. I use the restroom, and all I could think about is like, I don't have no thoughts. I didn't know what to think at that time. I just was, all I can do is just shake my head like, oh my God, I'm going to jail. That's all I kept saying, I'm going to jail.
At the very beginning of this, she said she had a newborn son. And her baby daddy, she didn't say husband, she said her child's father, woke her up and said, hey, the police are at the door. They took this woman from a newborn. So even if the child who was missing school was just bad, you're going to separate a mom from a newborn and hold her responsible for the bad kid? That's beyond bully tactic. It is, but it's beyond, that's next level. You're now endangering the child. You're separating a parent from another child. So because the older child may be skipping school, even though that's not what happened here, let's separate it from the other kid too. This is crazy. This is not America. This is what Kamala wants. She laughed about it. You saw her laughing about it.
I'm going to jail, like, for truancy. I can understand going to jail for something I did. that I stole something or I hurt somebody, I can understand going to jail for that. But going to jail behind something I have no control over.
That's wild. That's wild. And again, this is what she advocated for. She fought for it. For years, she tried to get this through because in her mind, this is the way to fix truancy somehow. What do you think of that?